Hi, I picked up a extremely rare RME 6900 receiver. I just got it. I received it today. And, well, it was actually here this weekend, but I picked it up at the post office. I put a hold on it. I just picked it up over there on the way home from work. But these things are very rare, and they're a very underrated receiver. I haven't powered it up yet. It's all original. Somebody had mounted a speaker here. It's probably a 4-ohm speaker, which is what the output calls for. But they use these tiny screws, looks like, as to not enlarge the hole. So of course, I'm gonna take that speaker off. It's gonna need a thorough cleaning. The cabinet too, it's not the greatest. I'm gonna wash it out. I'll wash it out in the big sink or the bathtub with warm water, with soapy water. With a sponge, I'll wash it down good and see what it looks like. But it's probably going to need a light coat of paint on it before it's over, just to kind of freshen it up. But if it does, I might take it somewhere and have them professionally do it. Or, I can do it myself. You just got to have an oven big enough to put it in. After it's almost completely dry, you stick it in the oven at a very low temp and just let it bake for about an hour, so the paint kind of completely, it softens up more, and then it hardens. When you take it out, it just becomes hard as a rock, like a paint job on a car. So let me power this thing up next and see what it looks like. I've got the RME active pre-selector. I can run into it too, which is cool. So let me get this thing. I'm just going to fire it up to make sure it works, but I'm going to have to replace all the caps before I start using it and go through it. And I have some plans for the modifications. Before I forget here, this is what I'm talking about. At the AM-B position, which is AM wide, it's only 3.6 kcs. That's one capacitor in the network. They're using T-notch filters. There's like 2 separate filters. There's one like at the start of the T-notch, and there's one at the output right before the last IF amp. And they're just switching 3 capacitors. This modification is so easy. AMers, this receiver is very underrated, like I said. And the reason is, when the collector craze, peaked back up again in the mid-'80s, and people did find a few of these here and there, they'd bring them home, and they were mostly AMers. The AMers were the ones dragging home this stuff first and got into it again back in the mid-'80s. When the collector craze started. So they bring it home, hook it up. The widest AM position is 3.6 kcs, and it sounds like shit. It's muffled, So here they've got 3.6 kcs via 200 picofarad caps in each network. Then they go here, and the AM narrow, the LSB, and the USB is all the same 150 picofarad cap, one in each one. And then they go to CW, it goes to a 20 picofarad cap. Well, I've looked at the schematic, and all you have to do is increase that 200 picofarad cap to say like 300 or so. I don't know exactly where it needs to be, but somewhere, like, I'll probably start with 3 and see what it does, 300. And then if it doesn't widen it up all the way to 6, I'll make it a little bit larger. It could be too wide. It just depends on how wide it is. I want it at least 6, a hair bit more. Sometimes, I'm one of those people that if it's wider than 8, it picks up too much crap from the adjacent sidebands, other stations. It's just too noisy. So I never like anything wider than 8, but I prefer right at 6. And then when band conditions get tight, 5. But 3.6, hell no, you lose all the audio quality. Plus on sideband, you want at least 3 kcs. The good filters are like, 2.5, 2.8. But this is, it's too narrow for the 2 kcs is too narrow for decent audio. And then CW's, they have it at 500 hertz. So if I make that 20 picofarad, a 25 picofarad cap to widen that up, and I change the cap that works this to like maybe 150 to get this at least 3 kcs, and then this at 6 kcs or a little more, that's perfect. And I'm not going to worry about it. I'm an armchair copy guy, and if you're not strong and if I can't tune you in without a whole bunch of hassle, I'm just going to change frequencies or just turn the thing off. I'm just that way. I don't strain to hear people. That's the other thing. When the CW guys that got these things, they want the selectable selectivity, right? Well, the way this thing is, it's fixed between 3 capacitors. You got bang, 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 basically. and that's all you got. You can't change it. Now you got a heterodyne null, because back in the, this receiver was made from 1959 till 1962. They only made it a few years. And you know, back then, all the bands were full of AM stations every night and sidebanders both. So you had all these heterodynes and adjacent stuff from the sidebanders. So they had a heterodyne null where you can null stuff out, which is good. And, you know, that works good enough, at least for me anyway. But, you know, you got the CW guys that want to really get down to it, maybe put in the headphones, and they want the selectable stuff. They want to find, you know, they want all that fancy stuff to dial it down so they can hear somebody. I don't get into that stuff. If I can't hear somebody, I just turn it off. Or like I said, change frequencies. So, but I've got the mod for this to widen this thing up so it's got decent audio quality on AM. It's a simple fix, and I'm surprised nobody was ever... why they never looked at the schematic and did it to one of these things. I'm not saying nobody ever had, but you know how it goes. The chances are nobody ever tried it. So let me get this thing powered up. I want to see if it at least works. The guy said it did. I want to try it out just for a few minutes, and I'm going to turn it back off until I change the caps.